It was a shocking dinner party for fans of BTS. Hi there, everyone. I'm Jeff. JR is the producer, and you are listening to Plain English, the best place to upgrade your English with current events and trending topics. This is lesson number 484, so that means JR has uploaded the full lesson content to plainenglish.com/484. Coming up today, BTS is a South Korean pop band with worldwide hits in both Korean and English. They've won accolades around the world, performed at the Grammy Awards, addressed the United Nations General Assembly, and visited the White House. Every year, the 7 band members have an anniversary dinner streamed online to all their fans. And this year, they shocked their fans with talk of a temporary break. In the second half of today's lesson, I'll show you how to use the term loom over, and we have a quote of the week. Let's get started. BTS, the most popular band in the world, shocked its fans with some big news at the group's anniversary dinner celebration. You might be thinking of a big gala dinner with lots of fans and other celebrities in attendance, everyone dressed in tuxedos. This dinner was just the 7 of them dressed casually. What made it special is that it was live streamed on YouTube like previous annual dinners that came before. The 7 members were seated at a long wooden dining table, all more or less facing the cameras. Behind them was a constellation of purple, pink, and white balloons. They start the dinner by pouring champagne and other drinks. Then they begin to serve themselves and, yes, eat on camera. They dig into steaming noodles, crab meat, and clams. If you didn't know what was coming next, the first few minutes of dinner table conversation would have seemed innocent enough. They chat about their interests, their busy schedules, their preferred drinks. One even mentions English lessons. But if you were paying attention, you would have noticed the occasional worrying comment. One band member says he doesn't have enough time to eat or sleep. Another says he is working on a song. After some more friendly banter, the band member Suga, seated on the far left as you look at the table, turns half serious. He mentions it is the band's 9th anniversary and that there is something they wanted to say. He talks about how the band had to cancel its world tour due to the outbreak of COVID-19. There is some nervous talk about their work during COVID. Several minutes of inside jokes follow. But then Suga gets serious again and says, "We are going into a hiatus now." Then, one unthinkable line after another comes across the stream. The group has definitely changed. Then, we have to accept that we've changed. Then, I didn't know what kind of group we were anymore. To fans watching the stream, this must have sounded like a breakup conversation. I don't know what kind of story I should tell now, Suga says. I always thought BTS was different from other groups. The blows keep coming. There's no time for growth, one says. Then, I've changed as a human over the past 10 years. And then, something nobody wants to hear from someone they love, a band or otherwise. I need to think and have some alone time. The speech goes on like this for 40 minutes. Suga discloses that the band will be working on individual projects. In his words, the band will be showing off our individual colors. He says that the whole world knows BTS, but so few people know the individual band members. Then the band decides to do individual toasts to end the dinner. And some sad lines come out during the toasts too. One member says, I was happy most of the time, but I've had a lot of painful moments too. Another said he hopes the fans would give them their blessing. On social media, they did. BTS fans call themselves the Army, and they were broadly supportive. One fan said he wanted to just give them a hug. Another said that the name BTS will stay with the Army like a tattoo that doesn't disappear. The traditional media, however, were quick to pounce on the word hiatus. There appeared to be a misunderstanding, possibly based on the translation of the live stream. The Western media interpreted hiatus as a breakup where the band would not do anything together. However, the group intended to communicate that they probably will still work on group projects, but that they would have time to pursue individual projects too. The band's manager clarified that they would be taking a temporary break. They changed the English translation on the video from the word hiatus to temporary break. As if that's not enough, there's another question looming over the band. In South Korea, all men have to serve 2 years in the military. They have to enter by the time they're 30. The oldest member of BTS is turning 30 this year. I didn't watch the whole dinner party. I watched the highlights on YouTube, but it was interesting. You can definitely see that they do things their own way. One criticism of K-pop is that it seems very formulaic, very scripted. And to a certain extent, BTS has followed the script. But they also have a much more personal connection with their fans, and you can tell in the dinner that they are very authentic, even as they've become the most popular band in the world. For more on how South Korea has influenced world culture, check out lesson 261. Today's expression is all about doubt, or more accurately, the possibility that something bad will happen. And when something bad might happen, you feel uncomfortable, nervous, anxious. The expression we'll use to describe this situation is loom over. There are certain things that can loom over a person or a thing. Questions, doubts, possibilities, and allegations can all loom over a person or a thing. When a question looms over a person, for example, the question makes the person uncomfortable because it represents the possibility of something bad happening in the future. Just a few minutes ago, you heard that there's a question looming over the South Korean band BTS. And that question is this: how will the band members do their mandatory military service? All South Korean men, even if they play in a boy band, they all have to serve for 2 years in the army. They have to enter when they're 30 years old or younger. The oldest band member is 30 years old this year. The question is looming over the band. Remember that we use loom over when there's a possibility of something bad happening in the future. The question of military service is looming over the band. There's a real possibility that the most popular band in the world can't stay together in the long run if they all have to take 2 years out to serve in the military. So how will they do it? Will they get an exemption from the government? Will they take it all together? Will they stagger their service? How will this work? Will they replace band members serving in the military? These are the questions looming over the band. These questions represent the possibility that something bad will happen. Allegations can loom over a person, maybe someone running for political office or trying for a prominent position in business. Here in Illinois, we have something called red light cameras. The cameras take a picture of you if you drive through a red light. You get a ticket in the mail with photographic evidence that you broke the law. The problem is that private companies administer the cameras, and the private companies get a percentage of every fine. And some of these companies did some illegal things to get their contracts. They bribed the decision makers in small towns around the region. So allegations of bribery loomed over these red light camera contracts for a long time. So the companies had a bad reputation, and the contracts they had in place were always at risk of being canceled or changed. Allegations of bribery loomed over these companies and their contracts for a long time. The allegations meant that there was always the possibility of something bad happening to the contract or to the company. So we say that the allegations loomed over the red light camera companies and their contracts. Here's a headline: Wildfire threats loom over the birthplace of the atomic bomb. The atomic bomb was first developed in a place called Los Alamos National Laboratory in the southwestern state of New Mexico. But the area is increasingly threatened by fires, and a recent report suggested that the laboratory might not survive if the fires got too close. So the threat of a wildfire in the area looms over the laboratory. It's not for sure that something bad will happen. Hopefully, the laboratory will remain intact. But there is a real possibility of something bad happening. So we say that the threat of wildfires looms over the laboratory. There are a lot of questions looming over the transition to renewable energy. The technology exists to produce energy from the sun, from wind, and from water, but the technology does not yet exist to store that energy so that it can be used around the clock whenever it's needed. The world wants to move toward cleaner energy, but there are real questions looming over the transition. The biggest question looming over the transition to clean energy is how to provide energy when it's needed, rather than just when it can be captured from a shining sun. Here's a good quote for this week. What's the difference between an obstacle and an opportunity? Our attitude toward it. An obstacle is like something that's in your way, something stopping you from getting what you want. So the quote says that an obstacle can be an opportunity if you have the right attitude. Here's the quote again. What's the difference between an obstacle and an opportunity? Our attitude toward it. The person behind that quote is an Australian pastor, J. Sidlow Baxter. And that brings us to the end of Plain English for today, Monday, July 11th, 2022. Remember that today's lesson was number 484, and you can find the full lesson at plainenglish.com/484. The full lesson includes lots of great resources to help you build your confidence and upgrade your English. If you've got some extra time this summer or even some travel planned, you might want to work on your listening, expand your vocabulary, and learn to express more complex ideas. If that sounds like you, check out Plain English Plus by visiting plainenglish.com/plus, PLUS. That's all for now. Check back on Thursday for the next lesson. See you then.